we don't mess with those, they're just gouged. We just leave but the pieces, especially the one down here by the, street roof is really messed up. And he says if we don't get that one taken care of, it's gonna, next year, we're gonna probably to rip the, drain out, and we don't wanna do that, because then it's gonna be a lot more expensive. So he said he'd take care of all that. And he's gonna take a piece of the brick and take it to Elmer's and they're gonna match it. So we have the same color. We have one spot that's got 3 different colors that we can compare right now. Because when the, whoever's making like, down by Cat and Gary's, when they put the new power cord across, they have cut that to get the new power in, and they've got different colors, so we're gonna have to get with the township board and see if we can't make if they have to tear something up, that they have to replace it with the same colors for the herringbone, the red parts of it. And that's, as far as I know, that's all I have. Tyler, were you planning on doing the street washing this spring? That's
the concrete, the
the
red
concrete.
The last we had talked about in the fall, we were talking about possibly in the fall, and decided to wait because of more concrete work being done. So until then, I wasn't expecting to plan anything until I heard.
Okay. Like I said, he's figuring about 4 days to get the concrete work done as soon as I get Merit consumers stuff done.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be this spring. One other thing that I didn't put on the agenda is this street sweeping issue. I don't know if the township was planning on doing that or not this year. If we want to do it.
I would love to see it at least
The spring one.
yeah.
I mean, we've always paid for one, cleaning of the year, and that's the most important.
But typically though, DDA would pay for the first township.
Good, right.
I'm here. For the first part. But I'll be honest, I don't know if it's a township. Do this.
Well, that's what I heard, that's why I wanted to bring it up tonight. Because I think it's important that we get those streets clean. We have it in our budget.
What was it, about 12 or
I think it was 500 last year, but I don't remember.
I don't remember us paying a bill for that last year.
We might not.
So I don't know, but we can give them a call.
I think it's, well, it was worth at least getting a phone call and see what it does.
Oh, well, I mean, if we do that, then we're into May before we can make a decision. We want to get this done before Memorial Weekend for sure. Can we
Yeah,
make the
that's
motion
what we
to
use.
approve it up to a certain amount?
We can do that.
I'll make a motion to approve an initial street sweeping for the year up to $1,200.
I'll second that.
Any other further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Sorry, I didn't get that on the agenda, but when I start talking, I remember things.
Well, I'm glad you thought about it, because that's important for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the worst it's been this year.
Well, we had a normal
We had a
winter,
little snow.
and then we had really bad.
Spring's a bad winter.
Pardon?
You know, it was a heavy winter.
Yeah. It wasn't that cold. You know, we didn't have a lot of below zero, but we had a lot of snowfall, and a lot of dirt got put on the street because of ice.
Good old fashioned winter.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, that's all I had on the streetscape and pathway extension. If there's any other questions. Okay. Expansion of the DDA. We had that we talked about it last fall, and I missed the meeting afterwards. So I don't know if you ever got around to talk to people north of town or anything.
I was told after the meeting that it was not going to be actionable until we discussed it further. So to stand down on going and talking to businesses north of town.
When you say north of town,
Well, we talked about if we're going to do that, like going to the marina, on the Indian River Marina. North of town, the DDA is already up to 313.
right?
So
There
it
was
would
talk
have
about
to
possibly going and talking to businesses north
be
of
north of that. Because if we're doing an expansion, it's the same amount of money to do the whole thing at one time, or doing just one
So
spot.
I guess I have a pretty strong philosophical objection to this whole concept. The whole idea behind a DDA is that it's your core central downtown area where businesses share resources, they share parking, they share clientele, they share everything. So to expand that out of the downtown waters everything downtown down to nothing. There's specific incentives that are designed to draw businesses into the downtown area, not expand that area out to accommodate those businesses. So to my line of thinking, we would be doing a great disservice to our existing DDA by expanding. When we're talking about the marina, it's one business that we're looking to expand to, and we'd have to incorporate 8 or 10 residential properties. Most of the owners whom I've spoken to and are by and large adamantly opposed. This is something that we've been talking about for over a year now, and I feel like we have tacitly rejected it several times, and it keeps coming back. So I would like to make a motion that we keep the DDA at its existing boundaries.
Second. Any further discussion first?
Now we got a motion, if we're gonna stick to, yeah.
Has to be seconded.
Yeah. Second then?
Well, I'll say, because I got some questions, so can I ask questions?
Yeah,
Okay. So I'll second it. So, how many businesses are north of that section now?
You've got, Rental Express,
Indian River Sports Center.
Indian River, of course, excuse me, yes. Indian River Sports.
Well, how far north would you go?
No,
Oh, no, you're right,
just to the township line,
Oh,
and that's at the Learning Road, the school. Pardon? Right, that's it, that's the end of it.
So we have the physical therapy place,
Physical
Todd's Landscaping, which they're expanding really aggressively, so I don't know how much funding there would be from their site, depending on what they do there. Is there another small landscape company up there too?
Right, there's the dollar store, there's a, electrical plumbing, I can't remember.
There's a
which one it
builder.
is.
And there's several builders there.
Pardon?
There's several builders on there.
Yeah,
But they're not downtown, traditional downtown type businesses, right?
Well, Mayor, I don't disagree with you. But our district already goes south to
the township.
the,
That's the same point I was just gonna make too. Yeah.
it already goes that way, and it goes west to the industrial park,
But
commerce park.
I guess the question there is, do you think it should? I don't. I think it goes too far already. So expanding it, again, I think downtown means downtown. And Cooperation Park is not downtown. Exit 313 is not downtown. When I think of downtown, I think what we designated as the, enhancement district is what I think of, and what I think most people think of. Again, that's just my thoughts. I definitely feel that it's too big already.
She said it was all the way down.
Just township line, Parrots Corner, well, not Parrots Corner,
Yeah, I know what you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
that's as far as it goes south. It does go any place east from this main street.
West Main Street? That was 68?
No, It doesn't go out at all.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't go out to, the trine's not in it.
Yep.
And it's, when it was extended out to those areas like to the industrial park, to the marina park, those are kind of a public domain, right? Those are township
Well,
properties.
it
that
never
are
was
trying to
expanded out to the industrial park.
That was
always part of
original
it. That was original.
It was
Everything,
just to the.
The only
marina
thing
park.
we've added is the marina park.
Marina park. And see, that, is, to me, is justifiable because you've got this huge public project that's taking place that you were able to leverage some funds for. I mean, I assume anyway, that was all before I came on board. But my understanding anyway is that's why it was expanded that way.
How many actual businesses are south?
In the district already, there's quite a few down there.
Is it?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
motels, marina.
Now, what benefits do they get?
Right now, we haven't done anything south. That's the first project that we talked about, is the path south.
But there are a lot of benefits available to those business owners, just by virtue of being within the DDA boundaries.
And that's what the businesses have potential to get some additions north of town.
But that's also the carrot to bring business to our downtowns, to say, hey, we've got these special things that are for the downtown area. So rather than using that as a carrot to entice people into the downtown, we're expanding out of downtown and just giving everybody that's out of that district those benefits. We can make the whole township DDA. But then what does that do for your legit downtown area?
Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the tape for, how do you read that, word that again?
I
I'm
said to
sorry.
maintain the existing DDA boundaries.
In a second.
Well, I said,
Yep.
discuss it.
Yep,
So,
yep.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
What, when the DDA was developed, what was the initial mission statement of the DDA at the point of the transaction?
I have a folder that I was remembering to bring all the time, but I quit remembering to bring it, that Diane had gotten together. Oh, look at that.
If I can find it, but that's a good point.
That's a great question, because I actually was gonna ask that, 'cause, what is the mission? Maybe that would give us some leeway on,
Sure.
okay, which way we go.
And given that we have a south commercial area, potentially, we do have it, right?
It's rolling to the door.
Yeah. Well, you don't have a lot of room.
Well, yeah, and so do we.
You don't have a lot of room where?
Right here, you don't have a lot of room for,
Yeah,
like
but
the sportsplex and things like that.
I guess I see that, I've been doing a lot of research on this over the last months, and I think more than expanding your footprint, a lot of the purpose is revitalizing your existing downtown. And so this was a concept that a lot of the land use seminars that I used to take when I was more involved in real estate had to do with. And, the crux of it is stop pushing your downtown area out. You're, again, watering your downtown down. Require those people, those businesses to come into downtown, incentivize your downtown, make it possible for them to expand in the way they want. And this is how you create a vibrant downtown. Pushing everything out to the outskirts does the opposite. And that's what happened you can list the towns, dozens of them in Michigan, like Petoskey, when they say big box stores, no, we don't want you to go away. Well, they go move outside of the downtown area and create a second de facto downtown. And then that causes your existing downtown to wither up and die. So I think, the township is a very different entity. I think as the DDA, we really need to be focused on what's within our downtown area.
Oh, and what do you, and I don't disagree with you, having spent 34 years at Tuscarora working and watching it go from having a wonderful drum iron vein hardware downtown with one of the very first delis
Mhm.
to non-existence.
Sure.
And the loss of the JDC pennies for which was an anchor for, years.
Right.
But the point being, what, again, I'll go back to, because I don't know, what was the original intent and mission statement of the DDA and its development? What is the what's the intent of, what do we vision our downtown to be? And when I think of some of the businesses in the greater metropolitan Tuscarora Township area, would they fit downtown? I don't know the answer to that. That meaning, is there space? Is there existing storefronts that they could move into and renovate? Again, I don't know. About when I think about some of them that I frequent all around, the answer for me is no. They're bigger than what we might have available here. So again, I'll ask the question: what's the flavor that we want in this downtown area? How do we build that, strengthen that, and still include those north and south regions who are really still vital to our township?
Sure.
And I don't know the answer to any of these.
Well, and I think that's something that we and other entities in the township have struggled with for years and years. And a lot of it boils down to the fact that we're not a town, we're not a village, there is no central entity
Right.
that represents this downtown area, except for the DDA. And so I guess that's why I'm kind of so passionate about it. It's not, the township has responsibility to the entire township, not just to Indian River.
Right.
And so there isn't that cohesive vision, because I feel like everybody has a little different concept of what it should be.
Right. Right.
So, but I do feel like, just as an example, you've got this old lumberyard property that is prime for development. And I know he'd like to do something there, but right now it would be a lot easier and probably less expensive for somebody to go 2 miles out of town north and do whatever project they were gonna do in town out there. And that's what we have to try not to incentivize. I'm not saying don't do it. I am entirely a capitalist. If you want to open up, do it. I'm just saying we shouldn't be incentivizing. We should be incentivizing downtown.
Well, and I would say too, before we even do that, do we know what flavor we want downtown?
I don't know that it's up to us to determine the flavor.
Well, that's true too. That's true.
It's just like mandating storefronts.
Well, that's
You
true
know,
too.
I'm not
Right.
in favor of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And I'm just curious, why would it be less expensive for them to go?
Well, just generally land out of town is less expensive.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Did you find the mission statement?
Well, we found the
Sort of,
purpose.
that's the purpose of the bylaws, but I don't know what's the same.
I can, it's just.
Read that one.
Just kind of plan and propose the construction, renovation, repair, remodeling, rehabilitation, restoration, preservation, or reconstruction of public facilities and existing buildings or multifamily dwelling units which may be necessary. There's also, there's so much here.
Yes.
Study and analyze the impact of growth on the downtown district.
Does it have a definition of the downtown district?
Yeah, well, it does, it's got, I think it's, I don't know if it's in that one. In one of these, it has, the original downtown and then map and expanded.
That was the expansion also.
Yeah, that wasn't. It's also designed to halt the deterioration of property values in the downtown district and take steps as may be necessary to persuade property owners to implement the plans to the fullest extent possible. I mean, these are, how old?
96?
Yeah, so I mean.
This is the original, the 96 is the original thing, and then there's the addition of Marina Park on those two maps.
I really want to say that this is probably a boilerplate, that was more or less available, when they formed the DDA.
Because this DDA was formed shortly after that DDA law was created, right?
No.
That's all right.
No, because that was back in 1975,
Oh, so, okay.
yeah. According to this. And it took forever, to even get any, it took forever to build up funds to do anything.
Mhm.
Because you're only, gaining the difference.
The overage, so to speak.
Yeah.
This first project, we did this pathway, safe route to school. And we only had $150,000, $200,000 in that because that was our first project. What year was that now? A long time ago.
20 years ago, early 2000?
Yeah, well, no, I did the grant work and I moved into the clerk in 2008.
Okay.
So,
Some did, yeah. All right.
I
Do you think that it's, should disseminate for those of us who are relatively new, some of this history that Chris has kept? Where's Diane when we need her,
I know,
right? She has
I know.
this whole nice packet, I got all this stuff.
I-
Well, I just, to go back and refresh our memory. And not disagreeing with what you're saying, but as someone new to the game, I feel totally inadequate to render anything like that connection.
This thing's just been dragging out forever and forever, and for everyone's sake, I want to just get it done.
Well, when was the last time the DDA has sat as a group and said, okay, what is the goals? I mean, we have a message,
We have every year we redo our plan. We have to plan. We have like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, 15, 20. We do that once a year.
This is nothing that's ever been in any of our long-term or strategic plans. This is strictly in response to a request from the Murdochs. And then it kind of snowballed from there into, well, if we approve it for them, is Indian River Marina gonna want it? And if we approve it from them, are all the people at 315 gonna want it? And so I just don't understand how we even got here. to be honest with you.
Can you, you mentioned the benefits that these other businesses get from being in the DDA district. I don't know what those are.
Well, there's a specific DDA liquor license. I think, Patty, isn't that one of the things that
Yeah, but the bigger piece is you can apply for other,
funding,
state funding
grants?
grants.
There's
to
a lot of
help the
incentives
businesses. I mean,
that come
that marina's 1938, right? So the opportunity to strengthen those buildings or do things and also be able to go to the state to help with some of that funding. I believe there's 2 main streets. There's this main street and there's that river. And
But
they
that
feed
Main
each other.
Street's only 3 months a year.
True, well.
I
more
mean,
than
6
three,
weeks
but
a
yes.
year according to Bob.
Well, really, the fishing tournaments start next week. So
Well, I'm just
those are
saying, that's
going
what he
now.
said
So,
numerous times,
in
it's a
my
6-week
mind,
business.
It's longer than 3 months because I'm getting boats.
But you could say the same thing about some of the businesses on this.
But they're already within the district.
Yeah.
We're not looking to expand to accommodate that.
But they're all businesses that support the Indian River.
Absolutely, 100%. And Patty, it's nothing personal. I think you
No,
and
I
Bob
get
are
that.
great community members, great neighbors.
I get that.
I'm strictly trying to represent the DDA district, the downtown area.
Uh-huh.
There is a residual benefit to not be a part of the DDA, but you do get some benefits from being close to a DDA that's thriving. I think you can't lose sight of, right? So initially DDAs, with I worked in a housing department, and DDAs were originally designed to really revitalize areas that were facing decay, right? There were empty storefronts. There were residential people living in a store. So originally, it wasn't designed for a place like Hickory River. So, they had to manipulate this animal to fit this goal. It's always somewhat confusing as an area resident to understand the difference between Tuscarora Township and the DDA, because there's just this, they work so well together, and just understanding they kind of commingle a little bit, they're impacting the township, so that's a factor. But I think it is fair to say that the original design of a DDA was to help a downtown community. There's no question about that. I think the question is, what is your downtown? As a resident here, I don't believe your downtown is at 313. I don't. And when I say, you should go downtown to Pollard's, that's downtown. And we can all agree that there's a downtown here. I think, we mince words if we say, well, it's not a downtown. Of course it is. That's where the parking is. That's where we have a center. And then there's this residual positive effect. When your downtown is vibrant, people are boating. People are staying at the hotel. They are eating maybe at Thirsty Sturgeon, a little bit further, right? But you do have to create a limit. And I happen to agree with Matt, as just a resident here, that I believe the downtown is your focus, or to limit your DDA resources to here. Now, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't support an application to, let's say, USDA for an expansion somewhere for another business. You, as the DDA, would support that, but it wasn't come from DDA dollars necessarily, right? But you could definitely write a letter in support of that. Your weight of being an established DDA would have an impact on somebody leveraging money, maybe for the Inland Waterway Motel, or the Waterway Motel at 313 just past week. So don't forget, there is some residual benefit to have a thriving downtown. And sometimes we think you gotta be a part of it. Well, but you do. You get all of the pluses of that.
And I think when, and I mean, one thing, I wasn't around at the time. The reason why they went out so big was to start capturing more funds for the DDA. Yeah.
I'm sure that was a big part of it.
There's just a lot of funding that businesses that are not in the designated DDA cannot use that. And so I do believe that the voting community absolutely supports downtown as well. So I feel like they can.
But there are dollars through the Watershed Council, environmental components, especially related to, marinas and the use of inland waterways. But sometimes marinas don't know about it, right? And the DDA could bring those ideas, right, to those people who are outside your DDA limitation, your geographic limitation, and say, hey, we've learned of these other resources that can help people outside the DDA, outside the geographic limit of the DDA.
Mhm.
I am, as just a resident here, very supportive of limiting that space to downtown.
But if you do expand it, does that then encompass all of us residents that live there? So now we become part of the DDA, so that I can ask for DDA stuff at my house?
That's what Alpena has chosen to do. Alpena chose to make it more expansive, and therefore has gotten a lot of gardens and public facade work done all through Alpena to make it more attractive.
Public, but I'm talking about private.
Private
I'm a
homes, private
home.
homes could, yes, if you are in the district, you can apply. So if you wanted to put a garden along the river, if you were facing the river, you could apply and get some of that handled in that way. Yes, and it's open for both public and private.
I just, to go back a little bit, those in the DDA district are not paying anything additional. We're capturing the value between what is originally the
With the
assessed, yes, assessed. And then we capture, it must be the tax bill, the tax bill, the difference between where it is now and where it was. So those in the DDA are not paying anything additional.
If you do an expansion on the, on your business or anything like that, where
Yeah.
you raise the valuation, then we recover a percentage of that.
Yeah.
The percentage that would have gone to the county is what it is eligible.
Well, it comes to the township. Contributes to the township.
I think what Denise is saying is what is the benefit or just be.
Or what are gonna be the downfalls of it?
I don't see why there's.
I don't understand why you would expand if there's not a benefit. You know, from the launch to, is there a huge benefit for us? Maybe there is, I don't know.
There's not gonna be a huge benefit for you, no. But it's not gonna cost you anything.
Except capturing some of the funds away from other projects that could be going on.
So what would so by capturing the businesses north of town, would the DDA be capturing a lot more money?
So the way it works is, again, it's, you know, you're trying to incentivize revitalization. So if you're paying $100,000 a year in taxes tomorrow, and you get annexed into the DDA, and you do, whatever, an expansion, a remodel, whatever, and next year you're paying $120,000 in taxes, we get that extra.
Okay. Does that affect the residents, do that?
Does not affect.
The thing that affects the residents is any potential development, right? So
Right.
that's kind of a small.
That's what I'm
shadow
saying.
right now.
I'm not seeing any benefits for Navinoy Trail.
There's no benefits, but there's no
Downside.
right.
Unless there was major development, I mean,
And that's based on zoning.
yeah.
That'd be true.
It is based on zoning, but it's also, you know, if all of a sudden there's a pot of money there that's available.
Right.
it's
Right.
a
We
lot
all
of
know how
money.
things work. I mean, I was just curious, because I don't know.
There's no DDA control, and correct me if I'm wrong, with this, but there's no DDA control at all. We don't approve anything, once we expand the DDA, then it's strictly zoned, just like any other property anywhere in the county. Whatever their zoning is, that's what they have to do.
But when you say zoning, and I have no idea what you guys plan on doing, but, okay, so say they decide to build a restaurant, they're gonna have more traffic out there, and that's going to disrupt that road.
No one's gonna drive down that road. I drive a main Cooper and
But only
walk.
just-
No one driving down that road. That's why I don't understand the whole extension thing. The residents don't even like driving down there.
We only need shocks.
Too many people talking about it.
But I'm just saying, okay, they fix your road, and then all of a sudden, there's a multi-million-dollar restaurant down there, now you're having all this traffic come down, and then your quiet road is no longer quiet
Mhm.
either.
I agree.
So I just,
Yeah, that would be something that that's what we're trying, right? Those are the-
Right, and then the residents would have to be notified of
Absolutely.
that, so.
Absolutely.
Well, you want to take a vote?
Can I say something? Downtown Development Authority. Downtown, I gotta agree with Matt, downtown has always been river to river. It's been that forever, and I would like to see it stay that way.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? Do we roll call this? Or do you just want to, let's just do all,
Do you want to restate that motion? just one
Yes.
more time?
Just simply that we maintain the current DDA boundaries.
Which are from river to river.
No, they're from, the township line at the south to the 313 at the north. And it incorporates, the boat launch, Marina Park, and the industrial.
maintain it to the
Current
current.
values.
Yes, current. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We are not going to expand.
All right, we can cross this one off the list.
Yes. Okay, summer music festival. We have to, if we're going to do that this year, we have to get started on that.
Yep, Mike gave me the contracts, that they've used in the past, that we managed for the performers. We have the nice email.
Before we get in there, could I, just because I'm new, and I agree with Matt on the DDA, but when is the meeting gonna be to discuss like what the future is and all that stuff? Like, when do we usually do that?
That's usually after our new year starts,
When
which
is
is in
that?
July.
Okay, cool. Because that's what I think, I mean, at least for me, to have like an idea of what's going on
Yeah.
would really be nice.
Like a strategic point.
Yeah, or something, like I did read that, which is awesome, and, we just talked about the pavilion. and-
Go through that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, which is
That's done,
awesome,
yeah.
because you just brought that up,
Yeah.
so there's things on there, but again, not being part of it is,
Right.
I'd like to know, so then we could. It would be kind of nice to be like, all right, here's our goal, here's what we want to do, and then we can push forward. Okay, thanks, sorry.
Nope.
So back to the music festival.
We have music series.
So,
Yeah, Thursday nights.
So, Sue, you were saying that you got the.
Well, yeah, I think,
We all,
yeah,
And, Matt's been handling the booking for that every year. Are you going to?
Yeah.
Well, first I should say, do we have a motion to continue the music series?
yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna abstain from any votes on this.
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want to engage in the discussion.
so Sue made the motion, Lori seconded.
Okay.
All in favor? Opposed? Okay. We had a budget last year. Just want to look at that, because I don't remember.
This is the one area I'm really bad with.
Just a second, our budget was
5,500?
5,500.
Okay.
And
What did we get? 3,000 or 3,500 in
we got
sponsorships?
actually, well, I don't know how much was sponsorship. I know that between other donations, it was $5,663.
I know we can do 250.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
and those go, everybody that sponsored we had how, 10
Like a
weeks?
band, yeah. Oh, so
I think we're 12.
12,
Yeah.
so we had,
And so,
everybody sponsored, we got sponsors to pay half of the.
exactly. And then we also had a big sponsorship from Sheboygan Community Foundation.
Oh, yes, I remember.
And then I donated, I don't remember how much, at the end of the year, some of your sales.
My only guess, as the treasurer, I just want to go back to giving the checks directly to the performers, and do it that way.
Okay, no problem.
That's-
So once you paid it and then we paid you?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was just because we had a couple weeks where, yeah, checks didn't get shuffled. I just always want to make sure the performers get paid when I get
Can be done, most of it.
paid. Yeah.
Okay. So, at the discussion, I guess we're gonna need to ask, what we wanna do tonight, is the location.
So I'm gonna abstain from any votes about how, because I've handled most of this last couple of years, I'll kind of give everybody a little bit of a frame of reference. We've had it 3 summers now at my place. Before that, it was down at the Duval Beach. The trouble that they had there was with the wind noise, and if there was any bad weather, there was no cover. So that really was why we moved it down to my place.
No, because it was not downtown.
And it was, exactly, sorry. you're right.
Wasn't anywhere near
It was
downtown.
not within the DDA. And so it's, I think about doubled in size, if not maybe a little more since we brought it down. I'm happy to continue to have it there. If we decide to move it, I'm fine with that too. We've had, as far as I know, one individual that has complained repeatedly about my hosting it. I think it's a personal issue. Among a sea of compliments about how much people are there. One thought that I had, and this is just, for the benefit of expanding it throughout town. Some of the other towns do a really successful small street music series, Harbor Springs, Lloyd City, and they have 3 or 4 businesses throughout town on a rotational basis host like solo or duo artists. I think that could be something that was viable. We do that maybe from like 5 to 7 o'clock. I would still be happy to host music after that, just on my own level. So the DDA contribution would roll over, and I think we could do something there that would be like, obviously be a lesser cost because we're not booking full band, it's just solo and duo acts. So, maybe we could split that with the other individual businesses. I'm not crazy about the idea of moving it to Marina Park for the weather issue. If it's a nasty weather night, you don't have any reprieve. And if it rains 2 days before, it's going to be muddy on Thursday. So I'm not crazy about that. Cooperation Park is within the DDA district. I'm not crazy about moving it down there, but there is a pavilion. I think your attendance would drop way down.
Because you get a lot of walkthrough.
Mm-hmm. We do. And it's, we've kind of combined the crowds. We have kind of our own crowd at the brewery that shows up, and there's the town crowd that comes to the DDA. So, that's kind of the framework. Whatever happens, I'm happy to keep booking the bands. I could use a little help lining up the sponsorships this year. Yeah, that's kind of the bones of it.
Right,
A band shall not extend 20 years.
Yeah.
I like the idea of covered over parking lot, but there's no way that it could be down in the park. The
That's
bands
also
would
not
have
visible.
the bands would have to be in the pavilion. And then it's maybe the picnic tables and everything. I mean,
I don't know what kind of power's there either. That's the other thing. We'll probably at least 30 amp power.
I don't think that.
So yeah, it's, there's some issues.
There's power, but
It's a little box, and we struggled to, nobody had asked the parts to turn it on,
Yeah.
so there's a couple things. Because we did hold a movie night out there with the library. Personally, I don't think it's the most viable space. We did it once out there, and then we moved it to the ice rink at Co-op Park. We did lose attendance by moving it out there, so I agree with both of those points. I think that there's some benefit to at least marinas in town, which are more open space. You're also gonna get a lot of kids on the ice though, so that's something to keep in mind too. It's like really like crowd you want.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I see kids that,
Oh, that's a
and
kid's
there's
event.
no, and as far as the alcohol goes, there's nothing saying somebody would have alcohol at
Oh, yeah.
William Park,
Mm.
so.
But also you're on a hill, so that's the
Not to
other
bring it
thing
in
to think
yourself.
about with Marina Park. It's a pavilion and then it's a hill, so they're all watching.
Down,
Oh,
yeah, the wrong way.
Yeah, the wrong way, yeah, where they're not gonna see as well the further back they get.
Yeah, that's awful.
We actually didn't have problems. Well, the only problem we had with sound was first thing. So we really didn't have a problem. Once the sound started working, it was working pretty well. The only other problem we had was the street lighting, but that was because of the wind. Because it'll line right behind the people playing.
Well, we're doing daylight, so that would
Mhm.
enter into it. I mean, I have not heard, other than one person making a complaint about it. As a matter of fact, everything I've heard has been positive. I have not heard any other establishments saying that they would like to host that. So,
And I've not heard any other establishments have an issue.
Mhm.
Unless I've just never heard.
We also hear a lot of complaints about this in general. Like even the other day, someone said that the library and the brewery are the two like most community centered spaces in town. So, so I did want to share that with you, yeah. Yeah, he was like, they're the lifeblood of Indian River.
Go man.
We're going for it.
That'll be fair.
You get a brew of lifeblood beer.
Yeah.
Right there.
That's a great idea, other than that coming.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Nick, you donate back on all your sales,
I do, yeah.
you do?
I don't remember how much that was.
You don't have to tell me, I'm just asking, because, I mean, I feel bad for 310, because you get a lot of business because of the bands coming.
Mhm.
But if you're donating back, then to me, it's a loss.
But he does have the Winterfest and Summerfest.
That he
He gets
gets
a lot.
donated back.
Oh, I don't, well, that I don't know, but look, they're at the pavilion. So a question though, like, because we talked about it before creating the, I forget what it's called, the district, where you can get a beer and then walk around.
Yeah, we.
But if they buy a beer like at the Brass Rail or 310 or whatever, can they walk down into the department then? They have to stay on their property, don't they, unless you
Yeah.
pass something special?
Unless we were to enact a social.
Whatever that's called, yeah, that's what it was, I don't know what it's called.
I used to work at bars. That was my
You've done it before.
Get out with it.
So, any further discussion, or any other ideas on if we do want to move it? I'll make a motion that we keep it at, brewery, at Mass Brewery, Jonathan Brewery. Any further discussion?
Do we want to reach out to any other?
That's what I was gonna say, would it be worth just checking with a few places? There aren't really a few others, there's maybe one other business that's even capable of.
Who's that?
Well, it needs to have the patio stop. It wants support that with people. 310.
Oh, 310? Oh, yeah.
But they would have to run a tent or something.
Right, for some of the kids, I mean, because all those people can be inside, right?
Yeah, well, if it's raining, even at Mass, it's kind of canceled.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We
There were
would
a
still
couple
have
things in the
it
tent.
in the 10, but it would be
Okay.
reduced attendance for sure.
A little bit of a tree hole in the tent right now, but that's.
I have a new one on the way.
So
Rocky's
here-
got
here's
that
a question.
Yeah, right.
Just because of the second page here, it talks about conflict of interest, legal considerations. Would it be wise, make sure we don't open ourselves up to some sort of issue? Or, I don't wanna say that's not the right word for it. Would it be worth doing due diligence of just checking if there are other places that feel they are not benefiting or that things are being taken away from them before we proceed with it, just as a covering ourselves? Yeah.
I'm a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no problem with it.
Okay.
I have a feeling that, either way,
I don't, I don't have any problem with tabling the location until next month. We can do that and just can get the band, get the bands lined up because you're getting close.
Yeah, is that going to give you enough
Yeah, I
time?
mean, we're probably late right
Yeah, will
now.
that give you enough time realistically, waiting a whole month to get contracts for the location stuff, or
I
is that?
can't wait that long to book the bands, but I could
Oh,
try to explain that we will book them, we're just not sure where they're going yet.
Could we maybe assign someone just to check with a few businesses in this side of town? And then have a special vote on it in a week or two, that way it won't cause a conflict with scheduling. If, there's a reason to change,
I think,
All we really have to do is go to a lawyer to find out if there's a conflict.
well, Matt can't vote on it,
Right.
but, I don't see a problem with that, but I think, like Matt was saying, we could do the contracts and just fill in where they will be.
It'll be someplace in
I think I can sell that.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, so I think we'd be okay just to go ahead and do that, Tyler, do the,
No, we just let it, leave it open to,
Is that what you did the first year you moved from the beach up to here, before the location?
They were
was-
all booked for the beach, and we just
Right,
had
and then
to
you
check with them to make
just
sure they were all
secured
okay. moving
So I-
forward.
Yeah,
and they won't have to do
Yeah,
yeah, so I,
actually, everybody was happy or being away from the lake.
downtown.
Yeah, well, away from the lake.
Yeah.
I don't see an issue with, also people returning, but that doesn't stop.
The process.
Mhm.
So let's table the location until next meeting. And then we will start
I'll start looking.
looking.
And I
Maybe
will,
look at a different way of doing it next year, like do a street position idea or something. Do we want to have Tyler to make some phone calls? Are you available to do that, to check with a few?
I'll check with a few of the guys in the town, yeah, yes.
Is it courtesy?
Do we wanna have any kind of criteria? Obviously, it's gotta be within the DDA, just,
Someone that's
I
family
would say
friendly.
it's gotta accommodate a couple hundred people. So that's really about it.
Yeah.
shelter for the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be covered, yeah.
You gotta have something for the band, so
Yeah.
they're not in the element. If it goes on,
Right.
I think.
No, that's a good point.
Now, I was gonna actually make a comment. This is actually, you guys have been awesome. Everyone's made-
Yes, nice having you.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Well,
great
we don't have
conversation.
We gotta get a guest speaker in every time so we get a crowd.
Come to our parks.
Well, thank you anyways.
Okay, so we already voted on that, so we'll just table the location. Okay,
Thanks, Tyler, I know you're trying to experience something.
It's all right.
Busy?
No, not really. I'm gonna
You
go
look
home.
good.
Yeah, well, thanks. I'm gonna go home and change and have some supper after that, because I just did work.
I have to say, Tyler and his crew rescued, I consider it rescuing us. We were, we couldn't get on our driveway, and if we'd been able to get on our driveway, we couldn't have gotten out on the
Yeah,
road.
the whole road's closed.
It was on both sides of our driveway,
Oh.
so, we couldn't have thanked them enough.
Nice.
It was fun driving around with saws for a couple of days. I took a break from work just to have fun.
Nice.
It was
Rescue crew.
Yeah.
really, really.
That's awesome.
okay, is there any further public comment?
First of all, I'd like to thank Dan for helping us with the parks. It was greatly appreciated. Tyler, you coming into the shelter and asking if there was anybody that needed help. I thank you for that. And I'm sure you all, Trudy, we thank you. I'm sure you all did your part, but these are the ones that I saw, that I know everybody did what they could and had to do for this community.
It was kind of nice to see the community come together as much, you have to have a catastrophe to get that kind
And
of
that's kind of
result.
sad that we had to have that,
Yeah.
but just like when 9/11 happened, the world came together, and the river fell apart, we all came together, and it was great to see, it really was.
Now we hope that carries through the summer.
Any other public comment?
I had one.
So for those who don't know me, I'm Kelsey, the director of the library. So actually, speaking of the project that I brought up with the METC, our reading garden idea, we're hoping, me and Karen Hill, the friends of the library president, are hoping to come here next month to talk to you all about that a little bit. We're still in brainstorming stages, but we're really getting close to start like making firm decisions on things and getting this whole thing put together. So if you don't mind, if you can something about that.
Just call Sue or somebody on
I
the
mean-
board till we get you on the agenda.
Yeah.
And we can add you anyway, so it's not a
Okay.
problem. But,
Okay.
yeah, whatever we can do to help.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Board comment? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you again for everybody coming.
Thank
Oh,
you for what
sorry,
you do.
yes,
Sorry?
I went home really quick with this agenda, and then did a real